Well, I wanted to give you a quick little tutorial on how to install the GoGospelNow translator. It's not as simple as installing certain programs, but once it's installed, it works amazingly. So stick with me. I'll show you how to do it step by step. So what you're going to want to do is click on this button on the website, go to translator, and I would suggest going to the GitHub page. And on the GitHub page, you're going to see all the files again and the program. And so the first thing you want to do is go to Docker Desktop if you're Mac or Windows or Linux here. So I'm on Windows right now, so I'm going to go to Docker Desktop, and I am going to find the install link in here. So sometimes I move things around on the site, but download Docker Desktop, as simple as that. I missed it. And so you can either choose for Mac Intel chip, Apple chip, and download for Windows AMD. And so you click that and it would start to install here. I've already got it installed, so I'm going to stop that right now. But then once it installs, you just double click on it. It will install Docker Desktop on your machine. Once you have Docker Desktop on your machine, what you're going to want to do is open the terminal, and I'm just going to get a new terminal here. And terminal, if you haven't used before, it's just the command line of the machine. And if you type in Docker PS, you're going to see something along this top part here: container, image, commands, and that sort of thing. I've got some containers opened already, so that's why it's showing the containers, and you will have those as well once we install the container for the TTS called Kokoro. So I'm going to close that up right now. So we've got Docker installed. The next thing we're going to want to do is install a program called Ollama. So if you go to ollama.com and you're going to hit download. And in Windows, again, you would download the program by clicking that. Same with Mac OS. Linux is a little bit different. You're going to click on Linux, and then you're just going to grab that command. You're going to open up your terminal in Linux. Now, Linux terminal looks a little bit different. I'm just going to open one for you that runs within my Windows machine. But then I would just paste that command there and hit enter, and that's going to download Ollama. What you're going to do is just type Ollama list, and you're going to see the engine or the AI model that we use for translation. And the way you get that model the first time, it's already loaded in on mine, is that you would go over to your Ollama site, go to models, and here are hundreds of models from very small ones to large one. I would use one that's in a 2 to 4 billion parameter model because it'll run faster and efficient on your machine. And the one that I would use, if you go to newest, you'll see one by Google called Gemma 3N, which was designed to be very efficient on everyday devices, laptops, phones, and tablets. So that's one you're going to want to use, and then you're going to find the model you want. Now I've already got the EBT2, so I'm going to put the EB4, which is just a little bit smarter than the other one on my machine. The EB2 is fine though for the system, but I just want to show you what happens when I pop that in. It's going to now download that model. Actually, let me do this and put in the 2, and I'll show you what happens when that runs. So if I go the 2B model, I'm going to grab that command and put it in there. And that's going to download the model. Now, my model's already downloaded, so it's just going to wake up the model the first time with that Ollama run command. And right here, you can talk with an AI model like ChatGPT right locally on your own computer. It's not quite as smart as that, but you don't need it to be to do this translation. So if you asked it a question like, tell me a joke, the AI model is going to talk to you. And so if you just wanted to interact with an AI model in this way, you could do that and translate to Spanish. So now I know I have the AI model working on the machine, so that's perfect. And we can just close up that terminal. The next thing we're going to need to do is get the repository. So if we go back to here, we follow down the instructions. We've got Docker and Olama installed, and then we've got to clone the repository. So if I hit copy and go to open a terminal again and pop that command in there, it's going to clone, and it did that. Get cloned all the files down for Go Gospel Translator. That's all been downloaded. If you hit enter, you're in the directory for it. And if I do a dir, you'll see all the files are there that are necessary to run the program. But you still need the dependencies that help it run. And so let me show you how to install that. First, what you have to do is set up an environment so that it kind of keeps those dependencies in case you have other AI programs on your computer. You don't want to come into conflict. So you scroll down here and find the command for Windows. I'm in a Windows system, or Linux or Mac have the same commandments. But in Windows, it's a little bit different. So I'm just going to copy the Python env command, and I'm just going to paste that in. Hit enter. It's going to take a couple seconds to create that environment, and when it's done, we'll see the cursor again. So okay, we're back to a cursor, and then I'm going to go and grab the activate command right there. And if I copy that, I'm going to come back into my terminal again and put in. And now you see how it says env. That's exactly what we want. That means we're in a special environment just for the program. And if you come down to the next command, step 4, and pip install the requirements text. So just take that command, copy it in, and now it's going to install all the requirements for that program to run. Now this can take a little while. It's about 2 gigs of required files. It's going to load into there, but it's all taking it from the internet to install. And then once they're installed, they're there on your system. You can unplug from the internet and use this without any internet. So we're at 13 of 96. So while that's doing that, I'm going to go the next step. We'll come back there. And we need MPEG audio and port audio. Now with Windows, port audio is going to install with the requirements we just added, but in Mac and in Windows, you're going to need to make sure port audio is installed. And so we're going to an FMPEG. So Windows FMPEG is it's pretty much just putting a command in your Linux version or in your Mac to install the FMPEG and port audio. But for Windows, it's a little bit more difficult, so let me show you that. What you're going to do is you're going to go to FMPEG builds, and I'm going to go scroll down, and I'm going to find the file I need, which is in the release builds, and I'm going to go to that one. I'm going to click on it. It's going to download that folder. I'm just going to back up into my step-by-step instructions and go down to that spot. So once that's finished downloading, it's still doing it, I'm going to extract it, and I'm going to put it in a folder on my C directory. So I'm going to put it on a folder on my C directory, and I'll show you what I've got there. So I am going to put C, and I've already got it, the FFmpeg, just simple. So I'll extract all the files into that folder. And if you see in that folder, there should be a bin, and in bin you see the actual programs for FFmpeg. And so once I've got that, I'm going to type into my search bar, start typing out environment. Okay. And it's going to edit your environmental variables. And so if I put that over there, these are my environmental variables. If you get lost, what you just need to do is go back to your GitHub instructions and look at the windows. It says, okay, so we downloaded the file, we extracted it. You don't need 7-zip. You can use that program, or you can just use the unzip from Windows. And you're going to go into the environments, variables, and then you're going to go to path and then new. And so if I'm back in my variables, let me get back there. I must have gotten out. Variables, edit system and variables. There we go. So I'm going to go again to get into there. It's double click on path. It'll bring up this screen, and then hit new, and then type in C:/FFmpeg/bin. Once you got that done, you have the most difficult part of installing it in. So if I go back, the requirements I installed all came into the folder, and so it's all ready to go. And so now that the program's ready to go, I know that Olama's working. I know that, the one thing we forgot to do is install the TTS program. So what we're going to go is look and install Kokoro. And this is what outputs the sound and the voices. So if you have a CPU, you're going to use this one. If you use a GPU, you use that one. And it's going to fail because I've already got this installed. But if I click that in there and hit enter, it's going to go and install it. Now it conflicted because I already have one in there. And if you type to make sure you've got it in there once it's done, if you go docker ps, you should see it running right in your machine there. So it's all set up, ready to go, ready to run. And if you go on your web browser to localhost :8880/web, you can see you have the fast Kokoro program there, and that's, once you have that installed, you can use it for other things. You can cut and paste letters or your sermon into there, and or a translated sermon in there, and then just hit generate speech, and it's going to convert all of that into audio. And it'll give you a download link, and you can download as an MP3 and take it with you on your phone, or so anything you put in write. Oh, you also have multiple voices, just like you do in the translator, that you could choose to put in there. So I could search through different voices. All the codes for the voices are in the program for the translator. But you do have this program, and you have the Olama program. So you have some programs you can use outside the translator if that's the way you choose to run it. Once everything's installed, and you're in the Go Gospel folder, and it's env, then what you're going to just do is type Python space main py, and that's what it's going to take to run the program. It's going to take a second or two the first time you run it to load everything up. It'll run faster after you've run it before. Still importing a few resources. And now the program's running, and it tells you basically you need to go to this localhost 7860. So if I go up to leave the terminal running and go to localhost 7860, and then you've got the Go Gospel translator there. I tend to like running it in dark mode, so if you click that, you can switch it over to dark mode and run it in dark mode. And so now your translator running, and you can see this has got to stay running in the background because the program is working. But if I go to start translate, it's going to start activating faster. So you can see in the background what's happening is it's listening for anything that I'm going to say, and when it detects something, it's going to convert that to Hindi because that's the way the translation's put together. I don't have the audio. No, I do. The TTS was not recording at this point, so I just want you to know the audio does work. It just wasn't coming through the video. To stop translation, you just hit stop. And if you leave this going on the background, it's just pausing and waiting, and you could go in and change settings. So let's say I want it to, source language is what I'm speaking is English, and I want to switch it to a different language. So I'm going to switch it over to Italian. And then I'm going to come into my voices and I'm going to look for an Italian voice. So I'm going to pick Sarah. And then if I click on this, now if I start speaking in a few seconds, it's going to start translating out to Spanish. Again, the audio was not coming through the right channel on the making this video, but I want to get it out to you, so I'm going to let it go for now. To show you a couple other adjustments, if you want it to output to different audio or use different microphones that you might have plugged into your PC or Mac, you can do that. So these are different audio devices that could output to a monitor or wherever, so you have choices there. And then if you click on the settings tab, you can go through. Now let's say you wanted to run this on a server and you had your Olama running on a different server, you could actually change this to the IP of that server and let it run faster. I don't think you need to do that, but if you wanted to run a really big model for the translation and you had a really big GPU, you could do that. Or you could, it's an OpenAI endpoint, and you could find out what the link to the OpenAI endpoint is and do it that way as well. And then the TTS server is set to that endpoint, and the same thing. Right now we're using Kokoro, but it doesn't have all the voices I like, so maybe in the future someday they'll have more voices on a different system. I could always change and we can update that. So then you just hit save server settings and do it. For now, just work with localhost on your local machine. Now there's performance optimization that you can do. It's pretty well set for you, but you can play around with it, and there's some documentation how to use these different things. One thing that I feel is important to have is what's called the VAD filter or VLAD filter, and that basically is if there's silence, sometimes the AI model just make up words. So I like it between 0.8 and 1 and have that set, enable whisper VAD, and that helps on the transcription so that you don't get any false words or that coming in. And then setting the CPU threads. If you've got a real powerful machine, find out how many threads your processor does, and you can put that in there. Or maybe slightly less than that if you don't want to use a full processor. And then your buffer duration is, how long it overlaps. And these are explained. We all talk at different rates, and we might want more words spoken in each block. And so you can change that there. And then you have your whisper model settings. Now, right now I'm using base. The smallest is tiny, so if you don't have a very powerful machine, I would suggest using tiny. It's very good. A lot of what makes your whisper work well in terms of the transcription is on how good your mic is and how many other distractions may be in the room. So if you've got a clean audio source coming in, bass or tiny is fine. You might want a more intelligent model, so you could try adding whisper small. And compute device, CPU only, or you could try metal GPU if like you're running an M1 or an M4. And then the float memory, for small machines, I'd go in 8, but if you've got a lot of memory, like most of my systems I'm running on, I like 32 gig of memory, then you can go float 16. If you have more than that, maybe float 32. You can experiment, see where you get the best performance. And then once you've got all that done, you just hit apply and save the settings, and it'll make sure all those settings are saved. This last section here is audio text synchronization. That has to do with the screen up front, and depending on your processing, that may be slightly off in terms of its timing. Right now I'm using a -2 seconds. I might want a +1 to get that syncing up better. That really just matters for who's ever watching it, your tech. It's not real crucial, but it's kind of nice that it's running in sync as much as possible, especially when you're testing it. And so then after you do that, you just apply the sync settings. And so I've just done that all. It's still running in my terminal. The program is still right there in the terminal, and it saved all those preferences. And now if I go back to my translator and I hit start, I want you to see in the background the terminal is clicking away again, and it all of a sudden it detected my voice, and you'll start hearing it. Again, the TTS was recording, just wasn't coming through on the video channel. The model is working perfectly. So you're starting to hear what I'm saying. And the way I have it set right now, you're not going to miss any words. It really works wonderfully. Typically what you would have is the people in your audience are just hearing this through headphones, so it's not disturbing or confusing the speaker or the rest of the crowd. So you'd set your output to So now it's stopped translating. So there's a buffer, so it's, once you stop it, it's not going to stop instantly. But now it's ready to go. If you want to see the translation log and see how accurate your translations have been and transcriptions, if I hit refresh, you now see a log of all the transcriptions that happened, and you can pick them by date. And what I'll do sometimes is cut and paste that into an AI model and ask questions about the accuracy and the translation. That gives me an idea, if there are any problems or anything with the translation. So that's the model, and it's really that simple to install if you just follow the step-by-step instructions. So have fun with it. I know this video is long, but I hope it gave you some help in setting up the program. Thanks.